Welcome back to the Stuff or Whatever podcast. I'm your host, B. Quanchi or Brian here. And just felt like this week just talking about whatever, kind of talking about more of how's it going on the channel, what I'm kind of been doing online, just random stuff like that too. So, and it's funny because I'm not sure like if people really listen or watch. It's probably really early, even looking at the channel stats. I don't think so, but I don't know. This has been actually kind of a fun hobby. So for those out there listening who thought about doing something like this, whether it being like a podcast or a let's play or any kind of like content creation, whatever, like story time or just talking or reviews or whatever, I just think you just go for it and take it from there because part of it's kind of, I don't know if you want to say like fun is the right word, but it's kind of like, oh, just like any other hobby, like building models and stuff like that. So I kind of like making sure things are good in terms of I got the good micro. Well, I don't want to say good microphone. It's better than just using a microphone on my laptop. But I kind of like paying attention to details and editing my podcast too, or my recordings. Which, if people want to go that way, I say it's good to edit. I just hope I would just say don't over edit because sometimes having pauses is good. Sometimes I'll pause a little bit. Um, I'm thinking about the next thing I want to talk about or looking up something. But sometimes if you like edit every dead air, it's going to be awkward. But it also helps to have a good microphone too, at least a decent one, because if there's a lot of white noise in the background and you do a lot of cuts, whether it's for bloopers, I guess, because there's even been sometimes like I even burp or something in the microphone and I just delete that. It's kind of awkward, but like, oh, it's funny because when I'm actually editing it, I like, oh, there's where I burped, I just like cut it out. But I think for the most part, it's pretty seamless. I think just sometimes I'm kind of a little off. I've been using like a free cheap video software too. That's been. I wish I had something better, but it works for what it is. So but yeah, so and then some stuff like kind of slips through. I think there was one time like I got a text and my phone went off and you can hear it and like my dog barking too. So sometimes a little this and that, but for the most part, I tried. I don't know. It's kind of like weird. Like it's not really much in terms of what I'm doing, but it kind of had that like I don't know, maybe like for lack of a better word, like a pride for like quality in terms of you want to you sound interesting and sound good, and if you like mess up or fumble or stuff like that, you just want to like catch that in terms of misspeaking, in terms of like slurring or um, having brain farts and stuff like that too. So I'm not sure, like I don't listen to too many podcasts, but I just kind of wondering like how often it's edited or how many like bloopers and stuff like that. um, yeah, because sometimes you just want to feel like you just hit record, say whatever, and there it goes. So it's been kind of fun, and also kind of doing things like creating thumbnails and titling stuff and adding descriptions. I don't know, just something kind of satisfying about it. Like I said, I think like creating like a model or a toy model or having hobbies like that, where you kind of like simple or not much to it, but it's kind of fun as you put things together and whatever. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, there's not much activity on a channel, but subscribers have actually been going up. Which I don't know how that works out. Sometimes I feel like there's some bots or whatever. Somebody likes a video and just hits subscribe and whatever. But it's kind of like interesting. Like, it's kind of like that expression, like dance like no one's watching, but you secretly want someone to watch you dance, but then you don't want them to if it's like cringy or horrible. So I think that's kind of like my uh, thinking about the channel at the moment is that you kind of want people to listen and watch, but you know, as long as it's like good or decent, but just some average guy on the internet or whatever. So who knows? Again, a bit of joke up. I think about the first podcast is that maybe this is like ASMR in a sense that it's some boring guy rambling on and put people to sleep. Who knows? Funny enough, I mentioned this before, but probably my most successful video is my Undertale one, but it's actually I did like a long time ago. Um, my what I call my genocide guide is like a little video of describing like how to beat Undertale, or like basically a basic walkthrough about doing the genocide run on Undertale. And I just kind of Yeah, it's kind of nice to know that's getting more success in terms of the content I created because I actually made an effort to like put stuff together. I'm not sure if I'll ever do stuff like that again. Um, I definitely need a better video edit program or something because I used to use Windows Movie Maker, but I think they stopped supporting that, or it's not on the laptop I got recently. So I'm not sure what everything else is like out there, but I would like something close to Premiere Pro or whatever Adobe Premiere, but who knows? And something else I wanted to mention when I did with some of my uploads is there's like two what I like to call shit posts or whatever videos. So up there, I think before I started the uploading podcast, I did like a funny, well, what I thought was funny. It's like one of those things like you think it's funny, but maybe a lot of people think it's like dumb and stupid. But I did one based on The Simpsons. It's called like Homer Simpson has bad stage fright, and I took a bit. It's like an old episode of Simpsons. I think when he was caught dancing with a strip belly dancer or something like that. And then there's a part like he for some reason he takes Bart to a gentleman's club or something, and it's like a big musical number. And then like I don't know, like he recognizes him, and then he like lets Homer sing like a line. But my shit post about that is that I put a like a I think a minute. I'm not sure how long, but there's a big pause. It is Homer just sitting there blinking, him with the guy holding the microphone to him, and then he eventually sings his line. And I thought that would be just funny if you just stand there for so long. And then I thought it was even funnier, like afterwards, is like the aftermath, like everyone cheering, like Bart saying, "Way to go, Dad!" and Mr. Burns like, "How does he do it, Smithers?" So I thought that was funny, but I think that's one of the things that's going to be funnier to me. But who knows? We'll see. It's like one of those things like you kind of throw spaghetti at the walls and see what sticks, what goes viral. Just I think it's funny. I want it out there, so at least it is that. And another shit post I did. It's about a car crash. It's actually the origins of it is it's a PSA that aired in Ireland about speeding. And the funny thing is, it actually where I got it from is listen. I do watch a channel Only Plays. And they talked about the PSA. How basically the thing is like it's a ridiculous car crash. Like a guy like flips like so many times and like rolls over a bunch of children. Like it's a bunch of children from a school from a class they go outside. It's supposed to have like a big contrast, like it plays a version of Sweet Child of Mine. You see all these kids outside enjoying nature and playing, and all of a sudden a car just like crashes through a wall and tumbles on top of them. So it's kind of like funny. You could look for the original PSA, but I just did a bit where it's just like the car crashing, and I add like little sound bites, like theme song for Curb Your Enthusiasm, that show, and also like the Price is Right losing tone. There's more to it like that, but it's kind of a short, simple, and so I'm like, hey, I think this is funny, but I just thought it was funny. I could title it like a car crash. I'm not sure if people are gonna think they're gonna see a real car crash, but obviously it's fake, and who knows how people can react to that. But I thought that was really funny, and it's on the channel. Then other stuff I've been doing on the channel is uploading old like gaming videos I did, like Let's Plays, and I'm not sure if that's going to be anything. Like I even because pretty much like back in the day when I thought YouTube would be kind of a cool thing or whatever, I did like little Let's Plays on a different channel just because it was like, oh, I can separate to have like one on one channel and manage this, manage that, but nothing came of it. But I decided just to consolidate, especially if this one has enough traction to at least I have partnership or whatever they call it with YouTube. But what I did is edit a bunch of my uploads together because I used to like the series, like oh, we'll do episodes and stuff like that, and think about people coming back every day or how often I upload. I think it wasn't as frequent as that, but it was just kind of a fun, like just putting stuff together and just putting things out there. And some of the series like is game completion too, so I think that's kind of interesting to say the least, or some games. So that's I have a backlog of that, so you'll see that on the channel. But the funny thing about that is one of my videos for Final Fantasy. I played Final Fantasy IV a long time ago, the SNES version, and the first one got copyright claimed. I had to break it up in parts because with my video editing, I know it was really weird about when you do such a long video. It kept giving me errors, so I had to actually break that one in two different parts because that was probably like my longest one I did when I was doing Let's Plays. going back, my first one got a copyright claim, and nothing big. It is like just like the music part, because when you start the game, like more so the beginning, there's like the little and the prelude that they play when it's like telling the introduction to the story or whatever. We need to part that big moment in a lot of classic Final Fantasies, but they claimed the music, the prelude, and actually called it the cover because I think I was kind of like reading the narration too and all that. And I'm not sure how that works. It's not like a strike or anything. I think sometimes they share the revenue with the content owner when it comes to music and stuff like that. I really don't know. I'm gonna like really speculate or think what makes sense. I don't think like they get the whole monetization for the whole video. Just maybe the part that it's claimed because there's like little tools that you can like silent it or just edit it out the video without like messing with your upload. In terms of like, you don't have to like remove it and re-upload it after editing. I think YouTube has some tools, but I'm not sure how often people use that. I think for a little bit of like if it's helpful, like if it's actually helpful versus being inconvenient. But yeah, just having a little fun with that. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna do more gaming stuff. This idea I've been thinking about is getting to Twitch streaming. I have a Twitch account. I actually even played around with it, like updated my profile and made things sound like nice and neat, and even testing out playing with OBS Streamlabs. So I think I might do. I have been putting my links to my Twitch as well, so if people follow or if anyone's interested, like follow on Twitch or Twitter or both, because I think Twitter is also a good way to kind of engage with people who follow me on the internet. Again, just some whatever guy, but just been thinking being doing more with this, and I don't know for shits and giggles than anything else. But if anyone has like feedback or throw a follow my way, I might throw a follow back. But what I've been thinking about that is like maybe waiting on that because I have my old gaming uploads like again having backlog and scheduled. So I think I don't want to have like too many bloated uploads to like turn people off or have so much loaded in subscription feed. But because what I want to do is stream on Twitch and then take those VODs and upload them to YouTube. Kind of like playing both platforms because and I could stream on YouTube, but I don't know. I just never feel, at least to me, that streaming has been too big on YouTube. You see it, but I think I kind of like having like a VOD uploaded versus like a stream. But I'm not sure if that makes much of a difference. But something to play around with, like just in case like Twitch is a better platform for streaming or whatever. But I don't know, just a loose idea I've been thinking about. And another thing I've been kind of doing is what I call the Whatevs mini cast on this channel. It's kind of like a spur of a moment, like with E3 last month. Like, oh, kind of want to talk about this or that. I feel like it's not going to be too lengthy. I didn't want to feel like a podcast, but something I want to talk about. So I thought it was a little clever too, instead of saying stuff whatever, just shortened down to whatevs. So I think I might do that a little bit more often. Just kind of depends because I have some ideas of like videos I want to do. And one if that might attract certain audiences or at least certain people, so that way like hey I want to hear opinion or reviews or whatever about certain subjects and stuff like that, and just seem like just a smaller podcast just have a good slice of whatever versus someone's like well I don't want to listen to a full podcast or anything down to multiple subjects that I may or may not want to hear about or interested in. So I think, just calling it a mini cast and just kind of having the expectation like, hey, I can just have a little outlet if I just want to get what's on my mind out there, especially when it comes to current stuff, whether it being like media with like movies, games, TV. So I think I just kind of use that as an outlet and see how it goes. Like I said, it's like throwing spaghetti at the walls and see what sticks. And then one thing I wanted to talk about is kind of like my hopes for this podcast or this channel. It's like again something you can't really get too invested in at this moment for me personally, just because it's one of those things you're not going to have like instant success. You're not going to be relevant overnight, anything like that. But another day, I think it'd be kind of cool to have a podcast that's kind of like maybe more interactive, like check in with Twitter and have a following saying, "Hey, what do you want me to talk about this week or that? What's going on, or what do you want my opinion about?" Or you come across things you normally don't like, or news about either like games or TVs or what's going on in the world. Not sure about that because I feel like sometimes it's easier for me to react to stuff versus thinking about stuff off the top of my head. Because as you may notice, a lot of my episodes have been like whatever stuff, like gaming stuff, cartoon stuff, music stuff, whatever. So I think it gets to the point that that's going to get a little old, and kind of having more of a stream of consciousness or just like talking out loud or anything like that. So I think maybe in the future not have much like a set theme or anything like that. But I think it'd be interesting to like even to have like even advice too, because I feel like I can't even remember the last time like really listening to like radios or thing like that where there's like a call in and you can talk to people and like people have like questions about advice. I think a lot of times like relationship advice or anything like that. But I think it'd be interesting to have like a advice podcast or a segment at least, whether they ask questions on Twitter, whatever. I even thought about like it would be interesting to have a podcast that is recorded on like streamed live, like recorded live, and then put online in other platforms too. Because I'm not sure if that's really a thing or not. But again, a lot of times I think about that stuff. I think about radio and like talk radio and stuff like that too. Like maybe NPR, I think is the big one, which I don't really listen to because who listens to radio? I thought it'd be interesting because I think sometimes that may attract people to listen or follow, whether it's like, hey, I want someone to listen to me or validate me on the internet, for lack of a better word, or just like sometimes when I listen to those kind of things, like if someone has a question or need advice, sometimes you think, well, what would I do in this situation? What kind of advice would I give that person, kind of thing. So it, it's just stuff that makes you think, and nothing too like highbrow or anything like that. But I think that stuff has always been kind of interesting to me. And one thing I feel like I need to do a little bit better is that pretty much what I've been doing for my recordings is like, hey, I'm going to talk about this and just kind of talk about the on the top of my head or try to remember stuff. Like a lot of podcast subjects or stuff I talk about is stuff in the past, like video games I grew up with or TV shows or whatever and stuff like that. I keep saying that like the title of the podcast, but a lot of times I forget like as I'm like recording and stuff like that. Well, not recording, I'm editing. We kind of I was gonna talk about this and then I didn't. So I kind of like feel like being a little organized or having a notepad. I think that might just be a good habit anyways for anyone who's like creative, whether it's something you're gonna do in terms of talking or drawing or animating or whatever. Just kind of like write stuff down, even if you have to like uh, write email to yourself or text to yourself because sometimes you have those moments where like, oh, that'd be cool, the cool idea, then you completely forget about it, space about it later. So I think writing stuff down is helpful, and that's what I'm trying to do now, a little bit. So who knows if the quality would get more better or more interesting with this podcast. But I'm always open to ideas as well. I think eventually I want to like look at like what's going on in the world and what's trending. Like one thing I actually got is a new computer mouse because I know it's like one of the podcasts. I think it's the cartoon one because I remember I was like looking on Wikipedia a lot, and I realized the mouse I had every time I click, you like really um, be audible on the mic capture and stuff like that too. Because when I record, it's the default record I have, so I don't really see like a sound wave, so it's kind of hard to see like what's making noise or white noise or things like that. But I did get a mouse, and let me click it a few times just to test myself and see. Okay, I'm not sure if that came up. If it did, probably not as bad. I think like even that, like kind of having that mindset, like, oh, how can I make this better, even though no one maybe even cares or listening and following. But I've been doing stuff like that too. So that way, if I do more like, well, let's pull up Twitter, or let's pull up news articles or stuff like that. It's not just going to be annoying clicking everywhere. Because you have those moments where like you think about something like, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, and you have to like Google it real quick and like, oh, okay, because I find that a little satisfying when like thinking of like who was in this movie or what was that one game or what was that one song, and yeah, I can just look it up while I'm recording. So hopefully, like having a nice, well, it's actually like probably less than $10 or whatever I paid for it on Amazon, but kind of like thinking of the small things too. But I even wrote down some things that I didn't mention before in other podcasts, like I mentioned like in my gaming one. Um, I totally forgot about some old PC games I played growing up. I thought that was kind of like fun and maybe nostalgic when you put like different disc in the um, tray and you open up whatever that is on a computer like that does the little prompt and have to do like cd slash whatever c slash whatever and that boots the program. And, I don't know, something like really archaic but kind of nostalgic about that. Maybe some old games played. I think I even have some bundles. I kind of wish I could track them down or whatever. But I remember this one game I like called Mega Race. Yeah, it's kind of one of those futuristic racing games, and I think at the time it's not like too fast paced. But I remember there's like a bunch of videos of like an older guy that would like kind of like be like the host and stuff like that too. But Mega Race was like one of those games. I'm not sure if anyone really heard of that, but I just remember that one that kind of sticks out to me. And then this one fighting game called Body Blows, and it pretty much is like a whatever like Street Fighter fighting game on a computer. I remember having fun with that too. But I think one of my favorite, one of this had more popularity, but there was one called Raptor I really liked, and I think it was a side shooting. You're in a jet plane. I can't remember what direction. I think it was you're going from left to right, like I forget. I don't think it's Galaga, but I think it's the other one. I forget. But I mean, that was a fun one because I remember like you get like money and resources and upgrade this and upgrade that. Maybe it was going up. I can't remember. Maybe it's something I can look up. Um, let's see if I can look it up right now. Oh yeah, Raptor Call of Shadows. Oh yeah, and it was going up. You travel up. But man, I'm looking at screenshots and wow, that takes me back. But Raptor Calls of the Calls of the Shadow. Man, that was a really fun game. I wonder if you can really find it these days. Uh, let me look at the Wikipedia article. Oh, that's interesting. I'm like looking at the Wikipedia, and it's like a article, I guess, that uh, the creator Scott House is planning to release a new enhanced version, initially be on Switch, to bring out Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, Android, and iOS. Oh, that's interesting because I just pulled up this like a YouTube video posted last December. I'm not sure if that's going to come out any soon. Oh, that's going to be interesting to follow. Yeah, I guess they're going to try to bring Raptor Call the Shadows back as an enhanced version. Oh, Patreon fundraiser, things like that. But that's interesting. Wow, good thing I looked that up. That's if anyone's like listening to this podcast and heard of that, that's interesting to know. And then there was other stuff too that played on computers as a kid. There was Mad Dog McCree. I believe they like remade that into like the Wii. I made ports of that, but that's like the West End shooting game. I thought that was pretty fun playing. There's also one called Seven Guests. I don't remember too much. It'd be fun to revisit, but it's kind of like a mystery game, like a click and explore. Uh, I think other games like that, there was like Myst and Dune, which I kind of felt like I barely even got to and kind of gave up quick. But I felt like Seven Guests, I kind of saw more puzzles. I think like my mom played it a little bit, or an older sister or sibling. Can't remember quite, but let me see if I can find anything about Seventh Guest. Looks like they like tried to do like a 25th anniversary edition back in 2019. So I'm not sure if there's more where you can find it, but yeah, I guess it's kind of a fun way to kind of like look up stuff. But I remember the Seven Guest was like Windows Interactive. Oh, it's been Virgin Interactive. I mean, you looked at because it's like those DOS games from back in the day. Um, I wonder if there's any good articles out there. We can find a bunch of old DOS games because there's probably a lot I'm forgetting. One just also came to me. I think it's from Sierra. I forget what it was called, but it's like you go into the rainforest and all that. Because I think I didn't get really into them, but there's the King's Quest and the um, Space Quest games. I just remember like one Space Quest, like when you're on, like the alien kind of like gets you, and that scared the shit out of me. I think that's like the fourth game or something. And I remember the King's Quest one barely. I just remember like playing the flute instrument. But I always it was fun to revisit. 'Cause I'm sure they have like collections or some way to play it online. But see if we can think of the Rainforest game. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's called Lost Secret of the Rainforest because I did a search and looking at Google Images, and a lot of it looks familiar. Yeah, but let me make sure I'm not. Okay, yeah, it was from Sierra. So I feel like I'm not sure what other games they had, but I know like everyone thinks about Sierra games like King's Quest and Space Quest. But Lost Secret of the Rainforest, I remember playing through that game, and maybe that one's a little bit easier because like I said, I kind of like really gave up on one whatever I played of Space Quest and King's Quest. I gave up like very early, but yeah, some fun PC games that I forgot to talk about in my gaming podcast one. And then other stuff I forgot about is on the podcast I talked about cartoons. There's a lot I forgot about when I talked about Adult Swim. Like I remember having that era of in high school, I know it's like stay up and watch. The Augmenting Hunger Force was a big one, and home movies, and eventually like other shows came out like Metalocalypse. I did like the Harvey Birdman one, but I felt like for a really good while, Adult Swim had a lot of good original programming, and hopefully we'll see more. Like I said, like the Rick and Morty, and also one I'm really excited for because I kind of follow the creator, but Smiling Friends on Adult Swim is coming out later this year, so that's one I'm really excited about. But yeah, I remember like watching Staying Up because back in the day I didn't have DVR as a teenager, growing up. So you can like stay up, and my parents had TVs in their bedroom too, so we'll like put on quiet and kind of put the lights out and watch stuff like that. So I have like memories of watching a lot of Adult Swim. Um, even staying up late on school nights and things like that. But that's one bit of cartoon nostalgia that I forgot to mention about. And one last thing I wanted to mention, because I totally forgot about this, it's like a little anecdote I wanted to talk about in my music one, where I talk about like a lot of music I like and some things like that. But there was one song I wanted to talk about, and I'm not sure if I'm the only one that feels this way or had this thought, but there's this song called Fuck the Pain Away by Peaches. And remember at the time, I honestly thought that was sung by Annie Milonakis. You remember back at that time, I think that show on MTV2, whatever, was being more popular. And my only exposure to that song was, um, I believe it was on YouTube back in the day. Like someone got clips from the Muppet shows, and it's pretty much like Miss Piggy singing the lyrics. And for some reason, I just thought it was like Annie Milonakis doing a bit or something with a song with "Fuck the Pain Away." And probably years later, but I eventually found out who Peaches was, but I'm not sure if anyone else had that thought out there, thinking that that song was a little bit by Andy Milonakis, but some something I'm not sure if that was even funny at all, but just something like, oh, I forgot to mention that and all that. So yeah, that's probably gonna do it for this podcast. And like I said, I kind of like doing this. Well, not like you said, but I think it's kind of fun to just put on YouTube just to have that interaction in terms of the comment section below, which no one's using, but feel free to use it. Subscribe and follow on Twitter. Follow Twitch and to. I'm thinking that's probably something I'm eventually going to do, just to kind of play around with that and see if like I get some traction. Like I even have some ideas of what I want to do on Twitch in terms of games to play and how I'm going to go about it. But that, just things to keep yourself busy and seeing what if it's worth it to put yourself out there and all that. But who knows? But if I guess I don't really see this much because I don't even think about too much about when I record these, like who's listening and who's following. But people who listen to this, thanks for listening and all that. And I hope everyone listens always has a good day and doing well and all that. But anyways, thanks for listening. Subscribe, please, and all that. And I'll see you next time. Bye.